make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
That wasn't 3, Todd.
What happened to 3 times?
I forgot to hit the fucking loop button.
He didn't hit loop.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. I am your host, Lachlan Albert, and I am joined, as always, by the new general manager of SmackDown, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
I didn't get the call. Jeez, I have to go and get my suits.
What a waste. And
I've always been a fan of your dad.
And joined by the man who has been here for British wrestling for 20 years. Jeff Seddy. Jeff, how you doing, mate?
Oh, Zack Sabre Jr.
That's what they sing. It's an exciting week to be an Australian wrestling fan because there is so much going on. We've had PWI 250s. We've got a huge weekend involving a Colosseum tournament. There's been WWE stuff. There's been AEW stuff. But big time, there's been some New Japan stuff. New Japan Royal Quest 3 hitting over in the UK with a big main event for the IWGP United States / United Kingdom Heavyweight Championship with Will Ospreay defending his title against Zack Sabre Jr. Paradox Gaming TV in the chat asking to keep up the British accent, Todd, if you're going to be on the worldwide TV now. Go on, hit it, Toddy.
No, I will not. I will not appropriate somebody else's culture. Thank you very much.
In it.
You're thinking that English people have culture? Let's keep going.
Wow. If you want to be like Paradox Gaming TV and be able to chat with us as the show goes on, make sure you're joining us at twitch.tv/Volt. No, that's not the right one. twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia. Too many podcasts, Todd. Do you know what
I find funny though? He chastises me about that, but yeah, he wouldn't let me do the Trent Seven joke I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's me that wouldn't let you do the Trent Seven.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you did the British culture joke, so
yeah.
No, twitch.tv.
All right, then, do your Trent
Australia. I'll get it right this time. Okay.
Go on, son.
Don't want to.
Jeff,
do it later.
Jeff, what did you think? I'm going to be the adult here. Jeff, Royal Quest 3.
I loved it. Top to bottom, it was a really, really fun show. The opener, Robbie X, I'd never seen him before, but boy, has he got a future. There was a lot of people from the new wave of Brit Rest who clearly showed they have a lot of talent. Yoda Tsuji gets better and better every match I watch. Every match I watch, he gets better and better. His gimmick gets stronger, and he's already bloody good. So imagine what he's going to be like in a couple of years. He really is the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is quite funny because they're pushing Narita and Umino more as the future. Where no, just look at what Tsuji's doing. Just have a look at him. He's the Ishii of the next generation. A big boy who likes.
Go on.
Sorry, son.
No, you go, bro.
Big boy who's like. Go on.
No, I said you go. I was being genuine. I know it's
no,
shocking,
you
but...
go.
It's really interesting. You know, he is the next Tomohiro Ishii. He really is. He's got a whole complete package. I found the. I'll just go through match by match. I found the Bullet Club Junior Heavyweight Championship a shame because it was too much of a foregone conclusion. So the match didn't engage as much as it could have, and I think the crowd also felt that there. The Guerrillas of Destiny beat the Bullet Club. That was a lot of fun.
Just before you say, the two guys that were in that, Cameron Kai and Leon Slater, they're like 17 and 18.
17 and 18. And commentary made a lot of mention of that.
Yeah, the first three matches of the show was basically, it was like Rev Pro versus New Japan. And then it sort of like moved into just a straight New Japan show.
Yeah. Yeah. Leon Slater is fantastic. They both were. Both Cameron Kai and Leon Slater were fantastic. Considering their young ages, they've got so much promise. Guerrillas of Destiny beat
up against the War Dogs, right? Because the War Dogs look kind of grizzled. So it's a good match.
Aesthetically, yes. But as I said, it was too much of a foregone conclusion. So it just, the crowd didn't seem quite as invested. GOD versus Bullet Club, that was a lot of fun. Ren Narita and Shota Umino defeated United Empire of Francisco Akira and Grado Khan. In a place where United Empire were the hottest act on the show, I would have absolutely reversed that decision. I would have had Shota and Ren getting some argy-bargy in, and one of the others doing a quick roll-up, or Okan doing a sneaky sleeper.
Sure, but does Okan need to win a match?
But there's also a rumor that Narita and Umino will be in the tag league this year.
Oh.
So
okay.
I think they're doing that. Maybe something will happen in the tag league where they break up and they'll have a match at Wrestle Kingdom. That's the rumor I heard anyway.
Yeah, I'd put that as second or third match at Wrestle Kingdom, and it'll be a bit of fun. LIJ beat Just Five Guys. This was good. This was really good. You get Bushi and Naito teaming against Dookie and Sonata, and you're going to have a good time. Doki is so very good at what he does. Eddie Kingston, Tanahashi, and Michael Oku, who's the current Rev Pro champion, defeated United Empire, Hanare, Jeff Cobb, and TJP. I minded this pinfall a little less because it shows the weight of Eddie Kingston, Tanahashi, and Oku, and it puts Oku over and on that level. So I minded this a little less because they're also sticking around. Shingo Takagi beat Tomohiro Ishii in what was fucking balls out insane. They slapped the piss out of each other and put about 1,000 moves. I lost count of how many clotheslines Ishii took before he finally got beaten.
This is what I really like about Takagi, right? Is he's a guy that can be really athletic and can put on the technical matches, or you put him against Ishii and you have two shit kickers up against each other who just run into each other for a full match.
Paradox has just said, geez, I didn't realize TJP went straight from Australia to UK one machine. No, he's not a machine. Bloody, what's his name's a machine?
Brian Cage is a machine.
No, well, Brian Cage is technically a
You
machine.
mean Speedball Mike Bailey, who in the middle of the World Series Wrestling Tour?
Yes.
Yeah, middle of the World Series Wrestling Tour, flew over to Japan to have a title match and then flew back to keep going on the tour.
That's exactly. Now that's a machine.
That is a machine. And finally, and I mean, that match was incredible. You can imagine. I think Shingo is a bit like Gunther in that you keep forgetting how many different kinds of people he can have matches with. And he's just fantastic. And Shingo's much the same. And finally, of course, as you mentioned earlier, the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship stayed around the waist of Will Ospreay, who defeated Zack Sabre Jr.
It's the United Kingdom Championship now, mate.
United Kingdom Championship.
It's badged up and everything.
That's quite right.
Well, but here's
then
the
whoever
thing,
wrote the notes for the show,
they still advertise it as a US title, and then in brackets they put UK because New Japan still wants it to be the US title. It's a gimmick that they're playing.
Whoever wrote our show notes is erroneous. However, I will continue.
You mean copy and pasted?
Yeah, copied and pasted. Yes, it is the United Kingdom title, and Ospreay's doing some lovely character work by pointing at every referee, making every ring announcer, making sure they get it right. This wasn't good at all. No. It was freaking brilliant. I don't think Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay can have bad matches against each other. It is an impossibility. I mean, Ospreay's already one of the world's best. He got a decent match out of Jericho, for crying out loud. But right now, the guy is insane, and this was fantastic. It just, their styles mesh, and they're great together. Loved it.
Do you want to know, according to Cage Match, how many times Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay have shared a ring?
Please.
41.
That is surprisingly less than I think, and considering a lot of those will be tag matches, six-mans, warm-ups, etc., etc.
But here's the thing. The recording on Cage Match only goes back to 2014. Anything that happened before that never got logged onto Cage Match. So we know that, as Paradox Gaming TV mentions in the chat, they've had 25 one-on-one matches. That's not reflected in this data, and there's still 41 on the list. These two guys obviously know each other that well, right?
Well, you know, they're close as well. They're good mates. And you know, both it's two of the best in the world. So if you haven't seen Royal Quest, seek it out, because it's a banger. I don't know what did you guys what have you guys heard? What did you think? Any comments?
Well, can I just, like, for a start, I found the production list like shit. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, like, compared to, like, if I watch, like, even an MC Dub or a PWA, their production blows this away. For me to think that this is technically the third biggest promotion in the world, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and for them to show their Trons was just the camera filming the Tron when they were walking out before the start. The open of the show was the Tron getting filmed by a camera. I mean, that's
it's the stuff that we give garbage to local promotions for.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And also the sound, like the commentary, the commentators, like their microphones constantly blaring out and constantly like blowing out the sound. I was just like as someone who takes notice of that stuff,
commentary was way down.
Yeah, for someone who takes notice of that stuff, that really like infuriated me. I'm like, you guys are the third biggest promotion in the world. These are the things that you should be doing right. And I know maybe it's because they ran through Rev Pro, because I know that's what
I absolutely agree with you.
But maybe that's what it was. That was the reason it was like that. But I sort of expected more for that.
Look,
James Cray says in fairness, they probably just had Rev Pro crew producing and
I didn't, after a while, because the in-ring action was so good, I had forgotten about how shit the production was. But I agree with you completely. It's inexcusable, really, because people watch NJP. I love NJPW, as you guys both know. So for mine, yes, it's unforgivable, but luckily the in-ring action was so red hot that I stopped paying attention to it, to be honest.
It's
to the point where I'm enjoying it so much.
Obviously, the match quality is really high, right? When you've got a roster like New Japan's and you combine it with a roster like is over there in the UK, you obviously make good matches. You know, when your main event is Ospreay and Zack Sabre Jr., the in-ring action is going to be great. Did this show feel like it mattered in any real way?
No, it felt like a house show.
But without trying to sound rude, if you watch this was better than an NJPW Road to show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those. Yeah, it was better than that, which is their house show. So
yeah, but that's because most of those house shows are all fucking like they're all 8, 10, 6-man tags all the way through, and then you have like 2 singles matches at the end.
Pretty much.
The singles matches are guys that are going to be in tag matches against each other, and the tag matches are all the guys that are going to be in singles matches against each other.
Yeah, like anything that has, and I mean, it says something that the 2 of the best wrestlers in the world that are in New Japan are both from the UK, so they could do that on the strength. They could do that on the strength of it, and it does like sell tickets.
And they both have completely different styles as well. It must be said, but I think the show was good. The production was terrible. I also wonder where Okada was.
Having a nap,
because he is still, a name.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, a lot of the people like Naito was house show Naito.
Oh yeah, he phoned that in so much.
Yeah. So I mean,
like that was to build to Naito Sonata, right? Like it's not to have an amazing match at Royal Quest. It's to go, hey, Naito Sonata's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But it was still a really fun match. Like they all 4 worked so hard to make that match as much fun as it was.
Yeah,
but my biggest gripe is narrator and shooter. But hearing that, they might be in tag league together, maybe I can give it a bit of a pass.
I also, saying that, I think Akira is one of the most underpraised talents around. Akira Francisco is incredibly good, and you don't hear his name ever. And he's 23, right?
Like it's ridiculous. He's having a ball. He's getting to play with the big boys, and he's having a great old time with the great Okada.
See, I know that you're
great,
a
Jeff.
big...
Thanks.
I know you're a big mark for Yoda, but I'm a massive mark for Ren Narita just because he reminds me so much of Shibata. I just want that. I love Shibata. As dumb as some of the stuff he did, his actual in-ring work I love. So he reminds me so much of him that I want them just build him like him, please. Just do that.
All right.
I have a question.
Take your question away. I'll do mine after. No, you go, Jeff.
Okay. I get the Zack Sabre Jr. is the IWGP television champion or whatever they called it. Why? Mm-hmm. I've never seen it defended. I think it's been defended once or twice.
And he also defended on AEW.
Oh yes,
Battle of the Belts. I think he got defended on.
Yeah, you're right. But still, it's rarely defended. So I don't know who's going to beat him for it. Like, there's no.
Does it get defended on the New Japan Strong shows? Maybe. I don't know. I don't really watch New Japan Strong.
There's been 15 matches for it.
Oh, really? That's more than I thought. He said on New Japan. Has he, James Craig? James Craig official has just said he's had multiple defenses on New Japan shows.
He's done it.
Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor on the online Ring of Honor shows a couple of times. He did it on Rampage. At Dominion there was a match for it, right? And then he did it at Clark Connors. Had that match at what was the American show?
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Showdown or something like that.
Showdown. Yeah. Okay. It's been around a bit more than I thought.
Yeah, and it's still a fairly new title because it's only been around for 9 months now.
Yeah.
So he's defended it well more than once a month, which I think is totally fair.
I think that's absolutely fair. I will tell Lachlan to shut up and we'll move on.
Yeah, that's right. He had my favorite one that a lot of people didn't see was, or a lot of people don't talk about at least. He had a time limit draw with Jeff Cobb.
Yes, I did see that one, and it was very good.
Yeah. So, and I feel like a lot of the people he's had matches with are the kind of people that you want to see get title matches that aren't getting them yet, right? Because his match in AEW was Action Andretti, right? Now we can talk
Yeah.
about what Action Andretti's doing, blah 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 blah. But when I'm mentioning Clark Connors and Jeff Cobb, and I think he had like one of the last ones was against Grand Metalik. And it's like,
Oh, nice.
those are really exciting, right? And then guys like AR Fox, where it's like, yeah, these are the people that should be in title matches that companies aren't pushing to the front lines. And yet this TV title is, yeah, Keanu just mentioned Blake Christian on Ring of Honor. Like, that is a great title competitor. Blake Christian versus Zack Sabre Jr. Amazing. I think it's a really good title picture, but you do have to go a little bit out of your way to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at
Thank
because
you.
I remember hearing something not long ago. So I just looked it up then, and this is like it's dated data, so I don't know how accurate it is right now. But how many Ring of Honor subscribers do you reckon there is?
7.
Nah, come on. You're exaggerating a little bit. 15.
No, like honestly, how many do you reckon there is?
It's got to be. It won't have hit 100,000.
I was going to say 75,000.
Well, as of March, so like I said, this is dated. 15,000 subscribers.
Wow, that's not very many.
At best, they've maybe.
So let's say.
it by 5.
I was going to say, let's say 20,000. Let's be generous. 20,000. So that's 20,000 people a week that have access to their TV show, not to watch it, but have access to it. So,
that's like the number of people who show up at house shows for WWE in a week.
Yeah,
that's like how many people Todd tells us listens to this podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
That would be more people. There would be more people that watch it illegally, I think, than watch it legally.
It seems like it, because that's a low number.
That's a very low number. It shocked me. That's why I had to double check it, because I heard it on a podcast. And I'm like, that can't be right. So I sort of went and like did a little bit of research, and yeah, as of like March, it was 15,000, which was up from 12.
You know what? Todd will get this reference. You know what's going around my head right now? Tony Khan dancing around going, "We're still number 4. We're still number 4. Even SBS is knocking on our door." So all right, well, degeneration reference there.
Right, old people jokes. That's great. Look, you know who else is number 4 is Jamie Hayter, because the PWI Women's 250 has come out, and she's
British too, so he did that timing very well.
Yeah, that was good.
Number 1 is Rhea Ripley this year. I don't think there was ever a question that Rhea Ripley was going to top the women's 250 this year. Followed in the number 2 spot by someone who I definitely would have named to be a top 3, but I don't know that many other people would, and that's Julia from Stardom, who has just been dominating the Japanese women's scene unquestionably.
And is phenomenal, and is a really good, enjoyable wrestler. Enjoyable to watch. And
to run through the top 10 for the PWI Women's 250, we've got number 1, Rhea Ripley, number 2, Julia, number 3, Bianca Belair, number 4, Jamie Hayter, number 5, Tam Nakano, number 6, Athena, number 7, Deonna Purrazzo, number 8, Willow Nightingale, number 9, Camille, and number 10, Jordan Grace. Love to see that we've got 2 of the Japanese women in the top 5, Julia from Stardom and Tam from TJPW, representing that side of the wrestling world. Bianca Belair at number 3 seems like a really good pick. And it's really good to see an Aussie on the top of the list.
I was very shocked to see Willow Nightingale in that top 10, though.
Well, we know you're a mark for her.
We know you love Willow Nightingale's work.
No, but like when you see, like, I think it's what is her name? Oh my god, she was just the WWE women's champion, Asuka. Yep. When Asuka doesn't crack the top 10, but Willow Nightingale does, I'm like, And even when they say, because the evaluation period was from October 1st, 22 to September 15th, 23. In-ring achievement, influence on sport promotion, technical ability, quality of competition, and activity. How does she not beat Willow Nightingale in at least 4 of those categories?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
James
she had
Cray
an
correcting
interrupted-
me. Tam Nakano also in Stardom. Thank you, James Cray.
Because Asuka had an interrupted year, she took about 4 months off, and I think that would have sadly knocked it down the list a little bit. But where's Io? Io should surely be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
A
know,
quick
you
shout out to some of the Aussie women who were also on the list, including Steph DeLander at the hilarious number of 69, and really excitingly, Lena Cross at 92.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Steph was at 69, Shazza McKenzie was at 88, and Lena Cross was at 92, and Charlie Evans was at 141.
Yeah. I think Lena Cross is about to explode. We'll talk more about Lena as we talk about something else that happened just over the past week or so, but she is so excellent, and to see her getting that recognition, it's wild to see her coming out above Charlie Evans, because Charlie Evans feels like such an established name. But I mean, Lena Cross has been doing amazing things. And when you take into account that, you know, she's been over in Sendai Girls and stuff, it's really, really excellent.
It's good to see.
Yeah, she caught a break with Steph's injury for the World Series Tour too, I think.
And grabbed it with both hands, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts about the PWA top 250 for women?
Fantastic
Right
to see
person was
Rhea
on
on
top.
top.
Right person.
Yeah, Mummy's always on top.
You know,
Ew.
it's great to see it. Not only
Please don't.
That's her shit. That's her.
I know.
Hang on.
It's just weird. For me, it's just
Hang on.
weird. Please.
I can
Yeah.
say it closer to the microphone if you'd like.
No, that's grosser.
No.
AMSR weirdo.
no.
All right.
Otherwise,
Speaking of
the 10th anniversary will be devising ways of not ever letting you talk again.
Speaking of gross weirdos, Judgment
Can I-
Day
can
are
I just
back as.
finish
Oh,
my
sorry.
thought?
Go on, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rhea's had a really great year because this year her character work caught up with her in-ring work. And I think it's really, really important to acknowledge that, because this is finally a character she can really grab onto. And in fact, I noticed the other day on Raw, I think someone was talking to, Drew McIntyre was talking to Rhea, and Woods said to McIntyre, "Why were you talking to the leader of Judgment Day?" And it wasn't laughed at. It wasn't not taken seriously. And it just shows you how far Rhea's come as a character. Just brilliant.
Is there any question that Rhea is the leader of Judgment Day?
Check with Finn.
No, not really. It
No,
seems to be just the way it is now, which is great.
She's in charge. She's the world champion that's in the stable. Obviously she's the leader. And yeah, speaking of Judgment Day, once again, undisputed tag team champions after they defeated the very short reign of the American Nightmare and the main event, Jey Uso, to become two-time undisputed tag team champions. What do we think of putting the belts back on Judgment Day so quickly?
On a
I was
Monday.
fine. I was fine with the way they did it, because the way they set it up on SmackDown. Because they'd set it up on SmackDown. I don't know if you watched it, where Roman told Jimmy that those two having those belts are an insult to the bloodline. You need to go and take care of it.
I was fine with it, but I wanted it on a pay-per-view. It was a great match. They lost at a pay-per-view. Why not give them the belts back at a pay-per-view? Because also, Judgment Day are beginning to get that cool heel shit. So they're largely getting cheers, except for Dom Dom. But they're largely getting cheers. So let's see them lose at a pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And speaking of SmackDown, what do we think of the new SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis?
I like the fact that, like, even the NWA said, like, put up a thing of their belt going, it's the best breeding ground for
for general
people.
managers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. I
actually-
don't know if it's setting. I don't know if it's setting him up to eventually wrestle, or if this is it now. He's just like they're going to do what they did with sort of. I know Adam Pearce was probably a lot further along in his like career progression by the time he became the office representative, but I think Nick has got a hell of a lot left in the tank. So I hope this somehow works out where he ends up going into the ring. But yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it for what. Hopefully, they do something with it where he could eventually wrestle, because that'd be cool.
Yeah, Keanu reviews in the chat saying Aldis is a hell of a talker. I mean, it does feel like Aldis' strength is more on the microphone than in the ring, despite him being really good in the ring.
I think I really like this. I like this as a choice. I like the fact that some WWE fans won't know who Nick Aldis is, let's be honest. And that's kind of a shame. He's a great worker. I also think at some point we might even get the general managers in a WrestleMania match against someone else.
Oh.
And the two of them
Against each other would be great.
Against each other would be fantastic, but it depends how much Pierce can wrestle. Like it's just how much is left in him.
Like the thing about him is that he's that smart a worker that
true.
Anything he did would be like it's I know this is like retro booking. If they'd have done this months ago, they could have worked up something where they both captained a Survivor Series team against each other.
That was exactly what I was about to say.
I agree.
Even if they're not both captaining a Survivor Series team, wouldn't it be cool if they had some situation where it's a 5-on-5 Survivor Series, but there's a double elimination with the last competitors? And to settle this Raw versus SmackDown, the general managers who are standing at ringside take the coats off and they get in and they just start beating the piss out of each other. I'd love that.
Yeah, I would too. But again, remember that we're fans to the point where we're aware of who both are. We've probably seen them both wrestle multiple times and enjoyed the wrestling.
Mark. Thanks, Jeff.
Sorry?
That's the word you're looking for, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah. Smart Mark. But we know who they are. The average WWE fans wouldn't, and I don't think it'll get quite the pop that we would like.
The thing is, though, that I like now is that I think they're starting to let, at least now that the way that the reports that have been coming out and all of this is now that Hunter is in 100% control now. Like Vince has no say in creative anymore.
No.
So they're starting to educate people about people's past accomplishments. Like I think the other week, I can't remember who it was. It was it was Cody and Balor were in the ring against each other, and things said that there was two leaders of the former leaders of Bullet Club in the ring against each other.
Yes.
Like you never would have heard that on WWE like a year ago. No. But from what we've heard, and I don't remember if I ever said this on air or if this was a conversation we said off air, where I said that Ari Emanuel was going to squeeze Vince out.
Yep, and I remember you saying it.
You were quite right. You said that on there.
Yeah, did I? Because my whole thought, I was like, he's going to tell Vince whatever he wants to hear to get this company off him. And once he's got it, then he can start moving towards, you've got your money, mate. Sit in the corner. Shut up now. Yeah. Let the big people take care of this and stuff. Let the people that are in control run the thing. That's like he's very hands off. Like Ari Emanuel was very hands off with Dana with UFC.
Yeah.
And Hunter would pretty much be in that sort of same position when you think about it in a wrestling sense as to Dana. So Ari is just like, okay, you're the guy in charge. Go and run it. Because from what I heard, because I watched there was a Bloomberg lecture with Ari Emanuel talking about it. And he put not a lot of the blame, but a bit of the blame on the fact that their stock drop was all the stuff to do with Vince.
Yep.
So
and rightfully so.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows. So he's just like, all right, Vince, you just over there, let these boys
walk off into the sunset, old man.
Yeah, let these boys run it. And you can tell by the fact that the matches seem to be getting a little bit longer on Raw. the matchups seem to be like this week. It was what Shinsuke and Ricochet. It was Volta and Bronson. Two bangers matches like back to back. That was a really good Raw from a wrestling standpoint.
And the headliner
now,
was great.
To come back to something we mentioned really quickly in passing, you talked about the mention of the Bullet Club comment, that it was two former leaders of Bullet Club. Now, I may have been the only one who saw this, but in a bunch of the groups I'm in, there are a bunch of people going, oh, they don't know what they're talking about because Cody was never actually the leader of Bullet Club. The storyline was blah, 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 blah. And it just seems like exactly the people that when we criticize AEW, they want to yell at us about being WWE marks. And then the second WWE is doing the right thing, they find all the holes in it that they can possibly find. And it's just like, what? How can you be upset that they're mentioning Bullet Club when the whole storyline that they're referring to was Cody trying to be the leader of Bullet Club? Like wrestling fans make me so angry, and I'm so glad that the wrestling is good so that I don't have to put all of my attention onto the fans, you know? My goodness.
The funniest thing I find,
I have stopped referring to them as fans, gentlemen. I now refer to them as Russos.
Very good.
There are a crowd of Russos.
The funniest thing I find, though, is that the ones you see online, like mostly on X, screaming about tribalism, are usually the ones showing the most tribalism.
Yep.
And they're usually the ones that always like any comment I see online where they say the E-drones, Vincels. As soon as I see that, I'm like, I'm not even going to listen to you. I'm not even going to read any of your shit anymore because you're a dickhead. Because I notice there's all these nicknames for people that watch WWE and that apparently are massive WWE fans. I don't see that on the other side. There's no real nickname for an AEW fan. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I just haven't seen it.
Not going to make the joke I was about to make. Let's move on.
I'm going to refrain as well.
The updated lineup as it stands for WWE WWE Crown Jewel. The World Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins will defend against Drew McIntyre, and the Women's World Championship will have Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Raquel Rodriguez in a 5-woman match. Now, I do not watch the Crown Jewel shows. I make sure I'm not subscribed to the network while they happen, but Seth and Drew should be a good match. I don't see those two putting on a bad match. And the storyline that's progressing here, where Drew only really cares about Drew, and he's, claiming to be a good guy, but Seth's going, well, what's this Judgment Day nonsense? I think it's interesting. On the other side, this Women's World Championship match, I think Raquel Rodriguez is a crap babyface. She's been given the John Cena, Penguins of Madagascar smile and wave role. And she's the only babyface in this match, unless you count Rhea or Shayna as babyfaces. So, what's going on?
Didn't Zoe turn face? Zoe turned face on, what's her name? Trish.
On Trish.
Yeah, but not really. She beat up a legend, right?
Yeah, because the legend attacked her and was making her essentially her slave through it.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like a face turn to me. It felt like a character beating up someone who was against them.
But then, you also say it too. Isn't that kind of you want the babyface to be against all the odds?
You're right. Mostly, I just don't want to let Jeff have a comment.
Now, to me, that's just because of what you said, Lachlan. They're actually testing the waters of making Rhea a babyface. They absolutely are, because you can't not hear the cheers she's getting. So I think while they're working out how to split Rhea away from Judgment Day by keeping Judgment Day hot and giving Rhea a huge pop without her being physically assaulted. It's a bit more difficult by Judgment Day, obviously. I think that we're going to see a lot more of these kinds of matches where it's Rhea, yay, against a whole group of people, the majority of whom are bad, and we'll just test the waters with how that goes. Because that seems to be what Triple H likes doing. He likes sort of testing the waters.
Yeah, and
I'll
I mean,
tell you one thing I will say is, you know how they had Nia coming in and just attacking everyone and leaving, and people were getting on it, going, "Oh, what are you doing? What are they doing? They're just letting her do this." Coming, they paid that off. So I felt like they paid that off so well. I don't know if we didn't end up talking about it. I don't know why we didn't end up talking about it, but they literally had everyone from this match, I think, come in and beat the shit out of her, like consecutively, and then turn on each other during that sort of thing. I thought when I saw that, I'm like, thank God they're doing it. They're letting her, they're getting her to put all of these people over by bumping for them. I love that. I thought that was really, really well done by WWE.
And the thing that I'll give credit for as well is that this is a 5-way match where it's not just, oh, all of them want the title. Like, these people all genuinely seem to have their own characters and motivations going into a match. And it's really nice to see that, especially in a women's division, right? Where these are all real characters.
And it's also really important to note that it's almost like they're taking a piss out of AEW, who at the beginning was saying, we're going to have this great women's division. They're like, Trips is almost going, and here's more women, and here's more women, and here's more women, and here's more women.
Yeah, well, I like
to kind of go, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, I showed you like next week on that first night of Halloween Havoc, next week on Raw, there's on NXT, there's 5 women's matches in that show.
Yeah. It's absolutely.
And you watch it, it'll probably rate its pants off as well. Because it dropped 100K from last week. So it was 900,000 last week. I think it was like 796 or something this week. And that was with there was no Taker, no John Cena, no Paul Heyman, do you know what I mean? There was none of that. It was just like sort of the normal roster and the guys that have been coming in fairly regularly for them. And they still, they did 800,000, which is, if I'd have said to you a year ago that NXT is going to start doing 800,000, you wouldn't have believed me with the way it was.
No.
With the Technicolor belt.
It's definitely interesting to see the way that quote unquote Tuesday Night War has, wound up with both NXT and AEW going back to their regular programming. And speaking of AEW, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff happening over there, as well as what's happening around Australian wrestling and our chicken salad and chicken shit. We're going to do that right after this.
And I need people to say, when I don't want to get up at 3 a.m, I need a like that sees me go to bed at 12 and wakes me up at 3. Saying you need to get this done. That's the foxhole.
What is the foxhole? The foxhole is the example of top tier, top class professional wrestlers who share the same work ethic, the same goals, and the same mentality to be the absolute best at professional wrestling in Australia and the world. If you look at Jimmy, tag team champ, you look at myself, nearly 1,000 days as champ, look at Tucky, fighting for the soul of PWA. We all have that one goal. We share that idea. We hold each other accountable. That really is what that foxhole mentality is all about.
And for me personally, being one half of the best tag team in PWA, I think it's very important that I come and keep myself accountable individually, train with the best that are going to make me the best, so when I go back to the team, I don't let my partner down. Yeah, look, and honestly, like, outside of here, it's hard to keep myself disciplined sometimes. So, seeing these two, best in Australia, that's who I want to be with, to try and be the best.
I don't think Jessica Troy truly understands just how intense this is going to be for her. I mean, if you look at it objectively, me, 6'3", 108 kilos, Jess Troy, 60 kilos, 150 centimeters. Objectively, she is going to get crushed.
Ricky or Jess, it's hard because, like, Jess is obviously, a good friend of mine. She's one of the best professional wrestlers on the planet. But thing about, especially the foxhole here, is I see what Ricky does, and people don't know how hard he trains and what he can do. You know, we're in the ring rolling around. He's throwing me around sometimes, and it gets scary, man. And I just don't think that Jess is ready for that. You're going to aid me in it. I think it's the Jess Troyer's time. And the only reason I say that is because the last time we've seen a rise like this in PWA was when Ricky South challenged Doug for the title.
No. But yeah,
if he throws it back on me, he throws it back on me. He got the momentum.
If you look at just both of us together, the example, okay? Greatest professional wrestler, leading PWA into the next era. Jessica Troy, hippie with flowers in her hair, farm girl, is that who we really want to lead PWA? That is no example.
Look, I don't doubt that Ricky believes every single word he says and he's going to do what he sets out to do, but you talk about a regime, you talk about order. That's not what the Joker and the Thief are about. That's not the ethos that we follow. And I actually wouldn't hate that hippie run of Jessica Troy as you talk about. So I don't know. If the regime is what we have to look forward to as you as champion, then maybe someone's going to put us up to it sooner or later. Well, imagine two rangers in power with the belts, eh? Look, hardest worker in the room, right? You've been a bit of a pussy recently, I'm not going to lie. Raz, come on. Chuck the belt up, let's go. Main event, night one, Colosseum. I'm not saying you're going to lose, bro, but you've been a bit soft recently, you know what I'm saying?
Full credit to Jessica Troy, 100%. I think she's one of the greatest technical wrestlers that Australia has, and not only Australia, but probably around the world. But what she knows herself, and what I don't think really gets conveyed to everyone else, is the fact that, as the example, I pride myself on knowing every counter, every hold, every reversal, especially to that Fujiwara armbar.
No, shit, man. Don't put me. Sit down, bro.
Look, as much as I think Jess might have you in the bag here, I've been hit with that pile driver before, and if Ricky gets her, she ain't getting back up. Yeah, as much as I think, you've got this, Ricky. Bruh, if Jess gets that Fujiwara armbar, your arm's coming off, bruz. She's going to snap it in half, and whether you tap or not, I don't know, but don't let her get it. That's what I'm going to say. Python's up, protecting you, mate.
Yeah, she can take my arm. She just can't get the belt. Wait, it's understand that.
Got him.
If it wasn't for me, this belt would still be with Caveman Ugg down in Melbourne. I carried this company through COVID. If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have had the biggest show PWA put on at the Roundhouse. I did all of this as PWA champion, carrying the company on my back, and I'm going to reach 1,000 days as champion. Just can't do that.
What a promo. What a bloody promo.
Oh, he's a wonderful,
that's
wonderful act.
The way they tell that story through that too.
Yeah.
Whereas you can see him like slowly getting more and more aggravated as they were talking about her. Now, I really like that. That's the first time I watched it. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it. So, and you guys went off and did what you have to do during your breaks. I couldn't do it. I stuck there to watch it. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Did you need the loo during that break, Lachlan? And there's a reason why. Yeah, because I saw you do one of these at one point. I saw you do one of these. Just that leg tuck.
Yep, that's the one. The classic
I was
maneuver.
going to keep going. I was going to see how long you could last. Just keep talking, which is really
I've got empty bottles around. Don't stress.
Thanks, Mike.
You're a bad person.
But I really enjoy that promo specifically because of how quote unquote out of kayfabe it is, while still having that heel character come through so strong. I think it's sick.
Yeah.
I filled in one night for Welchie. I think it was Welchie or Tony, one of the two. And no, it was Welchie. And we interviewed Rick on the turnbuckle. And I said, you know, we were talking about influences and shows we watched and stuff like that. I said to him, how do you feel now you've got the belt? And he goes, you may just see a Ricky South that you've never seen before. I was like, okay, man, you know, that's cool. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, just watch it. You know, and then we spoke like off. Once the mic was off, we were having a chat because he did Brainier and he's a mate. And we were chatting away and I went, what do you mean? And he goes, mate, I'm going to be the biggest heel. I'm just going to become the biggest heel and I'm ready. And he was so excited about it. And you can see why here. You can see exactly why he's great
stuff. All right. And by the way, and I'll mention it later, if anyone in the chat is at Colosseum this weekend, hit me up. Say hi. I love meeting you guys. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be hanging around. So, and feel free to tell them that, you know, Wrestle Radio Australia should be on FanFest.
And if anyone is going to the Bendigo Games Festival next weekend, that's the 27th, 28th, 29th. Wrong podcast. Move on.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck? These aren't board gamers, Jeff.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my God.
I just realized those 27th, 28th. I'm on the wrong podcast, man.
And didn't you give him shit about that earlier?
Yeah. This is really good for you kids. Just this thing here that you can't quite there where it is. Really good for you.
Good for the brain cells, hey? Alrighty, boys, we ready to get back into it?
Yeah, why not?
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And it's time to talk about AEW. Sting has gotten in the ring to announce that, you know, he had to retire previously and it wasn't on his own terms. So this time he's going out his way at Revolution 2024.
Yeah, let me play something. Hang on, before you do that, man, I'll play the announcement. So because we're allowed to do this because we were talking about it, so we can play it because I think you're allowed to do that once if you talk about it. So
fair use.
Can we hear the sound just so we know?
No, not at all.
Son of a bitch. Never
Great
mind.
for an audio podcast where we can't hear what Sting is saying. And then Pod just showing off my garbage floor as well as that. So Sting is going to finish off his in-ring run at Revolution 2024. Who do we think is the man to retire Sting?
Darby.
Jeff says Darby.
Okay, we can hear it now. So
thank you.
Let's go.
And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, he retired once already. Yeah, I said the word retire. But I got to tell you, that retirement in 2015 just didn't sit right with me. And besides that, there was one very key moment in my retirement speech that I made. The only thing for sure about Sting is nothing's for sure. Which brings me now to the word retirement again. No, I want to address it right here, live and in color on Dynamite in the great state of Texas. Okay, yeah, right here in Rosenberg, Texas. Wow, what a mixed crowd tonight. I don't care though, this is my moment. This is your moment. I want to share it with you. So here goes. I started my very first match with AEW was Revolution 2021. And my very last match will be Revolution 2024. One more key thing that you guys all need to know. The only thing for sure about Sting is my retirement, Revolution 2024, is for sure.
Wow. Massive announcement by the icon Sting.
Almost taking a shot at some other retirements there. So yeah, Jeff coming in saying that he thinks Darby is the man to retire Sting, and Keanu reviews in chat agreeing. Very interesting to see the way that Sting is locking in this date quite a distance in advance. God forbid there's any injuries during this time.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, I don't think I don't reckon they'll wrestle him. He won't wrestle too much.
He'll wrestle a couple of tags.
Yeah. I can see where they do it. Like if they ever turn Darby heel, that's the way they'll do it.
What's the moment?
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like the Michaels thing. I think it's going to be face versus face.
It's going to be an "I'm sorry, I love you" moment.
Although I mean, I remember seeing a podcast not too long ago where Ric Flair said he still wants to have one more match.
Yeah, I know.
He sure did.
Let's hope.
How many times has Flair retired now?
What is too fucking many? Sorry, I thought we were on Jeopardy.
John Farnham of professional wrestling.
No, John could still sing. John could still sing. Last the fucking. Like I love Rick, but that match was atrocious. That last one.
Oh, it was bad.
So, but yeah, no.
Anything else to say about Sting?
Sting is the logical choice.
Sting is or Darby?
I mean, sorry, Darby is the logical choice for the match against Sting, unless you do something like I was going to say Alistair Black. What was his name? Malachi Black.
Malachi.
Unless you do something like that, then that could be cool as well. But I think it's too far. Like, when is Revolution?
January?
Yeah, it's February or March.
February. So it's like 3 or 4. We've got 3 or 4 months to find.
Yeah, something? I still think it's a good idea that he announces it now because that just pumps more people watching January.
Yeah. Unless it's Jared God. See, the thing is that those two.
You just had that thought. You just had the most cursed thought there has ever been, Todd.
No.
Keanu wrote it in the chat, not me.
Oh,
yeah, that wasn't.
Don't go blaming me. Please don't go blaming me for that.
Keanu has opened he's spoken
Hellscape
into the monkey's paw and said, unless it's Jericho, WCW brothers. That's
the thing is, like, if it's going to be
thing
someone like that, it should be someone who has had some sort of interaction with him in the past or some sort of interaction with him, period. Like, just that if they did something like that, Keanu, that would be tantamount to the way that they retired Kurt Angle in WWE, which was the shits with Baron Corbin. That's
yeah.
And like, as much as I give Tony Khan shit, he would never do that.
I don't think that's a Baron Corbin. I can understand the logic of, as much as I hate the Jericho idea, it's not the same as having Baron Corbin take out.
Well,
that's not a passing of the torch. That's just another old guy.
Yeah, in fact, it's probably worse than Baron Corbin because at least Baron Corbin could have potentially got something out of it. Whereas like Jericho, you're not getting any really like return investment for it.
It's not passing the torch. It's just moving it sideways.
Yeah.
Really. Because, the only thing that would have finished that segment perfectly is if Jericho ran out and said, hey, guess what? So am I. Yeah, that would have been great.
Nice. I did hear Jericho today that the reason why that the international title kept getting passed around a lot is because, Phoenix A wasn't supposed to win it, and he's having visa issues. So he's having trouble getting into America too.
Phoenix visa issues has been a long-term thing. That's not new either.
Which is like, I don't understand how that's...
the bloodline.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works because, like, how long has he been working in America for? Like, how is that still an issue?
That's government for you, right?
There may be a condition where he has to go back every X number of weeks to then come back while they're working on a working visa for him. America's got weird...
But how long? Yeah, but how long do they have to work on this damn thing? Like, really? He's been.
It could take
they've
years.
been. But they've been with AEW since its inception. The Lucha Brothers have been with AEW since, like, so that's what, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, but there could be a thing where he had a working visa in the US and it lapsed. They're real sticklers for it, mate. Believe me. Believe me. So it could have been something he had it for a couple of years and it lapsed. Fuck off, Lachlan, for what you just wrote in the comment. He could have had it for a few years and it lapsed.
Very good.
Nightmare BC666. We meet again. It's my nemesis. And it lapsed, and since then it's just been in lawyer hell. Seriously.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Tony's got the bucks, of course, to pay for that lawyer. So.
Yeah.
Todd, I want to hear. We'll save something. I want to hear about your thought about angles here, Todd, in AEW. First off, tell us about Timeless Tony Storm. What do you think?
Well, like, yeah, because I actually wrote on something because I almost expected you to read it out because that's usually what you do when there's something written in the rundown sheet.
I actually thought about it this time.
Yeah, I wrote down general AEW talk. Todd has an opinion on certain angles. What a shock. And it's sort of the thing where, like, there've been stuff where they started out really good and it's turned to shit. Well, in my opinion, it's starting to turn to shit. And there's stuff that started out shit and they've made a course correction on it. And I think it's actually starting to be good. Now, the Tony Storm thing is that gimmick, that thing, we were praising it, 2 weeks ago? Or 3 weeks ago? When we were talking about how great, I love the character, love the gimmick. This silent movie shit is an absolute fucking anchor to this gimmick. I know you...
We're not doing counterpoint,
yeah,
but I absolutely disagree. I think that this it just gets better and better because it's getting weirder and weirder and funnier. I completely disagree.
I'm sorry, but if you're wasting 3 to 4 minutes of
it was ad break stuff.
TV.
It was
that doesn't matter. You could still have some matches. There can be a match going on during that sort of thing. Not Tony Storm running around in a fucking lingerie, like doing a silent movie from 1940. Like, all that gets across is her character, which is already across. That
well,
character
they could just
is already
play
across.
ads, Todd.
And I hate to tell you, but silent movies were before the 1940s. The 1940s already had sound. Wizard of Oz was made in 1939. Anyway.
Yeah, get with it, Todd.
Hang on, let me fix something. How do I make you a fucking silent movie? There we go.
There we go.
Try doing it now, Jeff. There we go. Everyone. That's the best promo you've ever done, Jeff. Talk away, son. What? Sorry. Can't hear. See how that wasn't entertaining? That was my point right there.
It was for me, but the difference is we don't have the production values to make me black and white. We don't have the production values that AEW has. It's a fun gimmick. They're going to throw shit at the wall, and I honestly thought it worked because it was played during the ads. It didn't harm anybody. It was silly and it was fun.
I see the name too, Lachlan, and you'll die for that. I'm not. I was
for
like,
those
yeah.
Listening, Lachlan
like
is called Todd. Old man yells at cloud.
The first week, I was just like, I think they went too far in the first week when they did part 1 and part 2 of both like two-minute blocks of where you could be using that time to get other people over. There could be other people like she's already over. She's already over.
The only thing they've done with those ad breaks otherwise is either have matches on or Sammy Guevara with the signs. I think this is fine. I think this is worth a shot. and it's fine because it's funny.
Yeah,
And it's finally something really meaty that she's enjoying as well. You can tell she's loving it. So
the other thing they like to do during the ad breaks is like have picture in picture where they have to lose money to Domino's Pizza, right? Like it's not like these during the ad segments have ever been good stuff that gets new characters over.
No, and
look, I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's I feel like personally, I feel like it's an anchor to her. Like I think she's more entertaining when she talks. To be honest with you, with that character, it's more entertaining in my opinion.
But the fact is, she's stuck in the 1920s and she's playing the role to the hilt. I honestly think that the silent movie was purposefully terrible, just to kind of extend the character.
So if this is still going on in 6 weeks, are you going to say the same thing?
I don't know. It depends what they do. Let's wait and see. You're judging it a little bit prematurely, mate.
Because I find it boring as fuck. You want to be honest? I find it boring as fuck.
Well, so don't watch it. It's on the ads. While it's on, uncross your leg from under your body and go for a wee-wee.
I'm not fucking Lachlan. The Nick Wayne...
You're not?
Christian... No, I'm not. The Nick Wayne Christian segment with the Nick Wayne's mum, that is possibly some of the worst acted stuff I've seen in a long... That's very bad WWE Attitude Era stuff. Like her acting... I know she's not an actress, and God, I know she's not an actress. But that was just... I'm like, what the hell is this? What are they doing with this? Like, it's the first time I've seen Christian in a spot where I'm just like, ugh. Do you know what I mean? I've really liked the direction they're going, but ugh. Does that make sense?
Nightmare DC 666 has clearly got Fountains of Wayne going through his mind right there.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, it's just...
Yeah, I also didn't care.
Yeah. Do you know when I lost it? When she said, "What are you doing, son?" Like, what mum in their right ever calls their son? Like,
it's like the opening of a Disney Channel original.
It really, like...
Hey, brother, you know how you and I love baseball?
Yeah.
The second coming of Al Wilson. Let's leave it at that.
Like, and then when she slapped him, the overacting from that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, bitch, you slapped him. You know what? You did it. You were angry.
I completely agree with you on this from everything I've heard. I'm not watching AEW at the moment, which you're about to discuss, although they did pivot away from it.
They've done a massive pivot away from it, and that's the one thing I will congratulate them on. There's stuff I was mad about with it, but there's stuff that I think that is like. I said talk about it.
We will, because you know why we will.
Yeah.
When I said that Tony Storm was purposefully bad, this was actually trying to be good, and wasn't. And not even Christian could save it.
No. So, and moving on to the MJF Bullet Club Gold, they did something last week where, in my opinion, they went in a direction that they shouldn't have gone. And I think this was very much MJF trying to tell a story, and he's just done it at the wrong time. Like, if he'd have done this story maybe a month ago, like 2 months ago, there wouldn't have been the outrageous like anger that there was, because like it's one thing to do that story, it's another thing to do that story when there's literally Hamas dropping out of the sky to kill people. There's a totally different like framing of it. Go Jeff, because you're more of the you're part of the tribe.
This I'll talk about a little bit later on. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But let me talk about this later on. I think you know where.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's where I was planning on talking about it as well. So we might save a little bit of that discussion.
I just want to say that they've pivoted from that, to changing it to the ring, which I thought it was fine. The way they did it this week was good as well. MJF was just very like he still held his anger, but he was like didn't really reference that at all. Just the ring, and that was the whole thing about it. I think they knew.
So to be clear to anyone who's not keeping up with the conversation we're having, Juice Robinson won the Diamond Ring Battle Royale on AEW this past week to officially make him a number one contender to MJF. Previously, there was a promo segment involving Juice that I think we all consider to have been in poor taste that we will discuss further later.
Yes.
But this winning the Battle Royale has been a way for them to basically pretend that the poor taste segment did not exist while continuing to tell the same story.
Yeah. And I'm still of the opinion that Adam Cole's ankle injury is a work. I don't care what all these news reports are saying and all of that stuff. I still think this is a work. I don't ask me why. I've just
Keanu Reviews in the chat says, what do you think of Omega versus MJF feud? This coming off the fact that MJF taunted Kenny Omega, saying that he's 12 days away from overtaking Omega to become the longest reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion of all time.
I personally think they should keep Omega away from the heavyweight title and the Bucks away from the tag belts, because they're both EVPs. They help run the company. And I don't think that the people who run the company should have the belts. I think that's a bit of an outmoded thought, especially when you've got some of the talent that AEW has.
Yeah, I think that they should keep the Young Bucks away from the wrestling ring and the television cameras, because I don't need to see them.
Yeah, well, that too.
Look, at the moment, I think I like the fact that there are a lot of people that want to challenge for the belt, because it makes it seem like a wanted prize. You've got like Wardlow made his intentions known tonight as well. So you've got Wardlow, you've got Switchblade, you've got everyone like in the background. You've got
Switchblade,
Adam Cole,
who physically has the belt at the moment.
Yes, exactly. You've got that, and I do like the story that they're telling, where they're systematically trying to take everything away from MJF. Like they want to take his ring away, then they want to take his. This is like, and I personally think something should happen next week where Juice wins that diamond, because then he doesn't have that diamond ring to rely on MJF to cheat anymore. He doesn't have. Then they have actually taken something from him. Whereas, unlike the belt, where the belt was stolen, he's actually had something taken away from him. And
we're doing an MJF Long Dark Night of the Soul type thing.
Well, like if he wants to do this whole, he's trying to do a whole redemption story by the sounds of it, and this is the way to do it. You put the guy in, and I like the way he's telling it. Like, why would I go out and try and fight and try and get my belt back? I'm outnumbered. I know I'm outnumbered. So I'm not going to go and do it. And that's going to lead into the Acclaimed and him teaming up for something for I don't know what type of, like, obviously an 8-man for some reason. Well, for something. They'll work it out for something, I guess. But even if that means that they lose their 6-man tag to the Bullet Club Gold. And so not only is he losing stuff, now people that are trying to help him are losing stuff as well. It's leading more thing. But I still think, and I've put it on Twitter and I've put it here. I still think the Adam Cole thing is a work.
Yep.
And I think everyone's
very well could be.
I think everyone's buying in on it.
I'm not really watching AEW at the moment for reasons that will become obvious at the end in a few minutes.
Look, let's move on now, because we're going to talk about all of the crazy Aussie wrestling stuff coming up throughout the end of the year. That's going to be at the end of the show. So let's move in now to talk our chicken salad and chicken shit. Let's lay this out on the table. It's chicken shit time. And man, there is some chicken shit with this AEW segment. Jeff, let's take it away.
why don't you enunciate what happened? Because if I do, I get
sure.
angry.
Because I'm also going to get quite upset about this. I think because I strongly disliked it, but I'll kind of helm the conversation. So let's rewind to the source of this storyline, which will lead us into what they did on TV, and then we can talk about our feelings about that. So Juice Robinson has in the past used a roll of quarters inside the fist as a foreign object to get some cheap wins. That is
the left-handed guy.
Yep. It's a storyline that he has previously done involving using a roll of quarters in the left hand, right? Additionally, we have MJF, a very clear, proud Jewish man who has spoken on air about the way he was bullied as a child by having quarters thrown at him to play into the stereotype of Jewish people being frugal and desiring money, which is a harmful stereotype that dates back centuries at least.
Yes. And there was even a fan like the week before that had a sign.
A sign that said, MJF, I dropped a quarter with an arrow pointing down, implying that due to MJF being Jewish, he would crawl through the crowd to get a quarter, right? Straight up racism. There is no other way to describe that. That is racism. And MJF has spoken publicly in character about how in his real life as a child, he was bullied with this. And that has shown that he has continued to be bullied on these specific grounds with reference to quarters up until the last few weeks. The result then is Juice Robinson appearing on TV claiming to, quote, have a roll of quarters with MJF's name on them, and then showing a roll of quarters with the name Friedman written across it. That's the context, right? Also worth knowing, and I'm going to speak broadly about this. This is not a politics channel, but for anyone who's been living under a rock, there has currently been some large developments in the conflict between Israel and Palestine, in which Israel, which is
Lachlan, I hate to interrupt, but can you please say Israel and Hamas?
Israel and Hamas, yes. You're absolutely correct. So in very broad terms, Hamas as an organization has launched a terror attack on again, I just completely blanked out there. Sorry, I've got so much information running through my head. Against Israel, which has resulted in a number of deaths of Israeli citizens, and the government of Israel has retaliated.
And over 200 kidnapped or something like that.
Yes, the government of Israel has retaliated against Palestine as a whole. This is a very contentious and complicated issue. I believe we all have some thoughts on it in different ways, or maybe not different ways, but we've all got thoughts on it that run fairly deep and complex. But that complexity is not something that is necessarily relevant to the fact that AEW had Juice Robinson taunting a Jewish man with a roll of quarters on the week that tensions between Hamas and Israel are boiling over.
I was thinking about this, and Jeff, you could probably answer it. If instead of Friedman, he'd just written MJF on the quarters, would that have been a bit different?
I think
I'm asking now because it just hit me.
And I'm not like. Don't get me wrong. I'm not offended by that.
I know, but I'm just trying to be as delicate as I can with it. That's all.
And I get it, and thank you. I appreciate that. It's a very valid question, and I think it still would have been offensive. Because the whole thing became offensive, possibly inadvertently, but for crying out loud, someone could have just gone, let's pull that segment, let's change that segment, let's make it about something different, and let's revisit roll of quarters in a month when hopefully things have simmered down a little bit. But no, they ran with it. They just blindly ran with it. And
I actually think that this was like MJF's baby. And MJF has just said, look, I'll take whatever heat comes from it. But by the way, he spoke out so virulently on like social media about it,
Sure.
defending it. Like, I think that this was his idea. I don't think it was smart of Tony to say yes.
Look, this is not to overtake Jeff's chicken shit here. I also wonder if, because
this
in
is
the
a show
past,
this is a show chicken shit.
Yeah.
This is just not.
This is
because I think we're all on the same page.
Pretty much in agreement.
In the past, MJF has been used to put out fires for AEW, right?
Absolutely.
And fires that don't necessarily involve him. So the fact that MJF has come out publicly to, I don't know if defend the segment is the right way to put it, but he has definitely implied that, you know, this is something that within character he considers to be fighting words and not much more. It feels like the same way that MJF has previously come out on social media to defend the way AEW stories have been progressing when they've come under scrutiny.
Here's what I think. I think you're probably right. But MJF is still a very young man. And he's probably not got the life experience to completely read the room. Yes, while certainly being a proud Jew and undoubtedly a very smart man, he's still only in his 20s. So
he is younger than me. He is 27.
Yeah, I'm not giving him any leeway. I'm not excusing anything about this. I'm absolutely appalled. It's made me stop watching AEW completely. Because
just for context, you're Jewish as well. So just this is why you're so very raw to you.
Yeah,
just for people that maybe wouldn't know this.
I'm not a Zionist. I'm not Israel at the expense of everything around it, but I am Jewish, and I'm very proud to be Jewish. What I felt was that while they have definitely backpedaled on it, and I admire them for that, what I felt was it's actually quite attacking. Like, even the stereotype is unbelievably attacking when you consider, and I mean, this is just a small thing, but when you consider the fact that some of the most people in the world, generous people in the world, are Jewish. So even before any other shades of that horrible stereotype, it's really offensive as well in Palestinians. Whereas that's not true. The nation of Israel is attacking Hamas. They don't want to, it boggles the mind. And then the thing that I've found most entertaining, my consistent go-to in life whenever my life gets shit, is now becoming a reflection of that shit. And it makes me just go, well, fuck it. My favorite wrestlers are on there in Danielson and Claudio, but why the hell would I bother when I could be attacked?
I think that it's important to... Keanu has said in the chat, I find that a cheap way to get heat, right? What I'm going to say is that in professional wrestling, racism, and let's use that as a blanket term, the use of racism as a heel tactic is such a minefield at the best of times, right? Let's go back to Danielson Kingston, when that was the WrestleMania program and we did Kofi Mania. That was a segment that used racism as a way to make the plight of the face stronger, right? And that is something that has to be handled really, really delicately. And in that case, it was handled really, really delicately, because Daniel Bryan as a character never mentioned the race thing at all, right? He was a heel, but the overarching story of race and the way that it affected that storyline never even came directly from Danielson. It was the way that the system had overshadowed people like Kofi Kingston, right? Compare that to this segment where, and it can't have been unintentional to, like, the the Israel and Hamas stuff, that may have been unintentional, but there is no way that this segment goes ahead without the correlation between MJF's Jewishness and the role of quarters being a known factor. There's just no way. And so at this point,
especially when in the promo, you said this is something you're very familiar with.
Yep. So we've got a situation here where a character on TV is being explicitly racist and using notions of race that have been used against a race of people for centuries that continues.
And that character in particular.
Day. Right? And that character in particular that he's targeting, the babyface character, is known to have trauma, explicit trauma, to do with this specific type of racism. Right?
Here's a huge concern for me. Sorry to interrupt you, Lachlan.
No, please don't.
That is that if people see it on TV, it becomes permissible. So what if, little Billy in Texas is watching Dynamite, and he goes to school with Leon, who's a Jewish boy, and the next day he just starts throwing quarters at him. It just keeps this horrible, racist, anti-Semitic stereotype just rolling over and rolling over.
I was actually having a conversation with a person the other day, and this was not related at all on the surface, but they were talking about the way that when they were growing up, they did not know correct terminology for Indigenous people. They didn't. All they knew were slurs, because that was all that they had heard. And then they were exposed to Indigenous people in school as like an 11-year-old and used a slur and had to be confronted with the fact that the only thing they'd been exposed to here was racism, and they were saying something to someone that was extremely hurtful, right? So now we're looking at a situation where whatever you say, AEW encourages children to watch. They put action figures on the shelves. They highlight when kids are in the crowd. They've got Luchasaurus, who for years was a good guy as part of Jurassic Express. There's stuff to appeal to kids here. And then they're also saying, hey, MJF's a Jew, and that means he got quarters thrown at him. And there are kids who do not understand the context of that. And that's the message that they have taken in, is Jewish people have quarters thrown at them. Like, without context, that's the message they receive. And that is not acceptable. It is not an acceptable thing to broadcast, regardless of what's going on in the world. And the fact that the current events of the world were also happening when that segment went ahead is fucking inexcusable.
Absolutely.
And the one thing I found more galling than anything else is that they sent... I don't know if they sent him, but he did it. MJF went and talked about it online, talked about it through his Twitter. He did the stand up to racism, the conference thing that they did with then in Dallas and all of that sort of thing. He did all of this stuff to defend his point of view from the angle and all that. And from that, I do respect him for, because he put across it, I'm trying to show through this story what this is wrong, and this is like my fight is to show that this is like, just let me finish, Jeff, before, because I can see you going. But the one thing I didn't see is Tony Khan coming out and saying, look, we did something that was wrong, we do apologize for this. Like, he will tweet about every other fucking thing in the world and talk about how Vince McMahon's a bad guy and all of this sort of stuff. He didn't once say, look, we did something the other week that in context was ill-timed and possibly like ill thought of. And for that, we apologize. Ill-conceived, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
You're welcome.
And for that, we apologize. And we will determine to be better moving forward in the future. That's never happened at all from him at all. It's just all been left to MJF. And maybe MJF has just gone, look, I'll come out and do all this stuff. Maybe that's what's happened. But I think as a owner, as a general manager, as a CEO of a company, he should be on the front foot. So no,
there's an obligation.
Yeah, there is. He should. I will come out with you and do this, because to show that as a company, we are a united front against this, and I just don't see that, and that's what I think is galling, in my opinion.
Here's what worries me, and this is perhaps a little bit dark for your fun Thursday night Twitch stream / podcast. Tony Khan is Arab. Tony Khan is, I think, he's Syrian. I'm sure the Khan family are lovely people, but behind it all, there's a conflict. And as an Arab man, he's got a point of view. That's fine, he can have a point of view, but if he's putting it across on an entertainment that children watch, it's questionable whether that point of view should be aired at that time.
Yeah.
That is a dark
I will
thing.
say, yeah,
No,
I will say
sorry.
this, and
hang on,
sorry,
please.
Sorry.
That is a dark thought. I am aware of that. I apologize if that offends anybody. But we are living in a world where we are seeing a rise of anti-Semitism and flat-out Nazism that this kind of thing fuels. So this needs to stop now.
Yeah. I will say, and this is in no way defending any of this at all, so I just want to put that straight out there. But we've had a discussion, I don't know if it's been off air or on air. It's probably been off air, where I've said to you guys that I would love to be able to tell a story as a booker where I can tell a story of someone who is like a heel, who is a homophobic heel or something like that, like blatantly, outwardly homophobic, and he's shown the error of his ways through an angle. And like at the end of the day, it's sort of this, like, I think MJF is sort of thinking along the same lines. It's just near on impossible to do in today's climate in any way, shape, or form. Like, and any in like not just like homophobic, not just like all of that sort of thing. So Andy, he's not presuming it.
I'm not presuming it.
But you've got to think too. You've also got to think too.
To assume TK's to presume his worldview. I'm not presuming his worldview. I'm saying at the end of the day, he is an Arab man with an incredibly powerful voice
that is silent at the moment.
Yes,
and
that
this
is
comes down to
just
something that
you,
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Andy,
Todd.
Going on.
But this is in the corporate world, this is called optics, right?
Yes.
Optics is a huge thing. So regardless of his worldview, regardless of anything else, when you look at this through optics, which is something that WWE cares a lot about optics. Optics is what are the possible interpretations of this situation that could be made by people in the general public that will reflect negatively on our organization. The optics situation are bad. The optics for this promo that we're talking about should have been looked at before it went onto TV, and anyone with even a passing familiarity of optics would have said, this is a no-go. And anyone who knows about optics would say that this is a situation where Tony Khan needs to consider the way people will look at him, consider who he is as a person, as a rich person of Middle Eastern descent, and look at the ways in which harm can be minimized. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Todd, but the argument is not about the worldview, it's about the optics.
Yeah. I just want to ask Andy. Andy, do you think that he should have, or AEW at least, should have apologized for the segment? Because they haven't at all. If anything, it's probably been the thing that they've been the most silent on. All that they've done is they've promoted that MJF did the Rise Against Jewish. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, and I apologize for that. They did that. They also did a segment on, I think it was Collision, about him going to that meeting, and they showed all of that sort of stuff. They never actually mentioned anything about this segment at all. There's just like that never happened. Sort of like the MIB fucking flash came out, and now we're not supposed to remember that happened at all.
Who's KDV?
But yeah, I personally think he should have just come out and apologized as a, and not even like screw what his last name is, screw where he's from, screw any of that. as a leader of a
I am
company.
not saying, hang on, Andy. I am not. Andy has said the segment clearly shouldn't have happened in the first place. He just thinks if the suggestion that he's blind to it because of his race, because of Tony's race, that's rough. I'm not saying he's blind to it. And I'm not even saying it was a malicious thing. But
I think what happens is when something bad happens to Tony Khan or Tony, he shits himself.
Yeah.
And goes into a hole and lets other people. This is where he goes, oh, this is what the other people handle. I don't handle that. I don't handle that.
I'm not presuming he's blind to it. I think that what we're trying to say is that he's still very young as well to run a company like that. And he panics. And when he panics, he goes, I better not say anything. I'm just going to walk away. So instead of putting a tweet out going, hi, in the world environment, it's really bad. I have donated X amount of dollars to Amnesty International, and I'm truly sorry to both Jewish and people of any other race we may have offended with this segment. End of story. Yeah. Then everyone would go, fine, all good. I would go, fine, all good. Good for him, donating to Amnesty or whatever charity he chooses. But no, he's almost purposefully, again, for using the optics, he's almost purposefully ran the fuck away.
Yeah. Look, I want to put a bit of a bow on this because this is a situation that is really, something that a lot of people are going to deal with in a real way. So before I do that, Jeff, is there anything else you want to make sure gets said? And then I'll pass to Todd. Do you feel that anything else needs to be said on this topic?
I just someone I think it was Keanu Reeves watching in the chat. Keanu Reviews said earlier, wasn't this done? Weren't we done with racist angles years ago? Like, really?
Yeah, Keanu has said, anytime ism-phobia is used as hate, I feel like you've run out of ideas. Bobby Roberts in the chat has said, I think we're past racism as a tool in wrestling storytelling, especially in a storyline that feels like it will be over in a few weeks.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think that Max had a story that he wanted to tell, and it was probably just very, very ill-timed. And he went ahead with it because he thought he could pull it off.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but even so,
this is where I think is not just in this sort of a situation, but in most situations, when it pertains to AEW, is the biggest problem where there's no guidelines. There's no one pulling him back into line. I think I can't remember who it was that said it. It might have been Bobby Fish. Said that's what he said was the best and worst thing about AEW. The best thing about it is you got so much creative freedom, but the worst thing about it is you've got so much creative freedom because people aren't going, well, that's not possibly the best idea. Pull that in. Yeah. And this is where I think they went. This is a misstep that they made, and sadly they didn't handle it the best way. But they're getting a pass on it by the sounds of it. So I guess I hope they live and learn from this. But who knows?
I'll probably watch the pay-per-view, but, I'm still very, very angry about this. This isn't going to go away because people, again, as I said to you guys before we came on air, I'm sick and tired of people saying the Jews blew up a hospital this morning. No, the Jews didn't blow up a hospital. The Israeli government did, if they did. But it's just that narrative. The narrative is there. And there's enough ill will towards Jewish people and Arabs and any other minority in society that we don't need to fan the flames through what is supposed to be a mindless, fun, silly bit of entertainment, because essentially that's what it is.
Yes.
And so let's wrap this up with a few things that need to be said. First of all, there is no place in the wrestling community for hate of specific groups of people, right? There is no place for racism against Jewish people. There is no place for, racism against people of the Islamic faith. There is no place for it, full stop. On top of that, when it comes to the current situation in Israel and Palestine, the fact that the Israeli government and Hamas have executed actions which have resulted in huge loss of life is to be completely disavowed. There is no world in which people deserve to die on the name of claim to land. It's fundamentally wrong, and unfortunately many people have lost their lives, and that is a real shame. If this is,
and it's also something that's been going on for thousands of years,
literally thousands of years. If this is something that does have you feeling in any way your mental health compromised, I want to encourage you to call 1300-MH-CALL, 1300 mental health call. I know that in Queensland, at least, that is a number that can provide triage services for mental health, somewhere to get help. There's tons of support services. We obviously here strongly support Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life as mental health places you can go for help. So if this is a thing that is currently affecting you in a really severe way, please access those resources. And if that's not something you're comfortable with, I know the three of us where our DMs are open. If you need to talk to someone for your well-being, please talk to someone, right? This is a very fraught topic, and I know that conversations of this nature will be ongoing, but to everyone who's here with us, please spread love to the people around you, and make sure that the things you are using your voice to do is to encourage others to be positive and not to be hateful. Moving on from this is our opportunity to eat, drink, and be merry, because we're here for wrestling, because the thing is, we do love wrestling. There are parts of wrestling we hate, but goddamn, we love some wrestling. So let's talk about chicken salad. Keanu reviews in the chat immediately asking, is our chicken salad Kyle Fletcher versus Omega? Kyle Fletcher versus Omega, something huge here. Do you guys mind if I jump in with my chicken salad first?
No, no, no.
So I was given an insane opportunity last week. A huge thank you, I know, goes out to Todd, and I owe Todd so much thanks for so many things, but this one, he truly made a little boy's dream come true, because when I was a little tacker and I was watching wrestling, believe it or not, someone that I loved, and I was like, imagine if I could do that, was Michael Cole. When he was doing backstage interviews and on commentary, I was like, I know it sounds bizarre.
Say Gorilla Monsoon. Say Gorilla Monsoon. Say Joey Styles.
I was sitting there
Sorry,
going,
guys.
Please say Lord Alfred Hayes, not Michael Cole.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. It was Cole. It was Cole and Taz with a commentary team when I was there. And Bobby in the chat mentioning that there's a clone of me in the crowd somewhere. Multiple people claiming they could hear my trademark call-outs at World Series Wrestling. But it wasn't me, because in a turn of events that I can't believe, just like when I was watching a kid and watching Michael Cole and Taz on commentary and wishing I could be them, I got to sit at ringside with the microphone and do commentary for World Series Wrestling, with the opening match being the match that would have been my chicken salad whether I was there or not. TJP versus Speedball Mike Bailey in an absolute banger, a match that I would have maybe traveled interstate to see, just on the back of those guys. But instead I was at ringside commentating on it, and that couldn't have meant more to me. And I had the most excellent night. And on top of that, everyone can go on over to Fight TV and find World Series Wrestling and watch an amazing card, and hear my voice over the top of it. You can catch Bobby, who's talking about a triple threat that definitely did not happen, because he was in a one-on-one match with Ace Austin. Thanks, Bobby. But yeah, an absolutely awesome night of wrestling. And yeah, I can't rave about it enough. Made me so happy.
Congratulations. That's lovely. Really nice to hear. Todd, do you want to go next?
Yeah, mine's sort of along the same sort of a theme, because I was lucky enough to be a part of that show as well. But I've got two. I've got two. That, because for me, that exercised a lot of demons. that I'd had over the past, well, since the last time World Series Wrestling were here. I had a lot of, I always want to say mental trauma from the last time because of the bullshit that happened with the ring and all of that stuff. I took that on board personally because I was the one that helped organize getting the ring and all of this sort of stuff. So I took that 6 years ago. Thank you, Bobby. I took that all on me because at the time, Chris Basso and Matt Basso were helping Adrian with World Series Wrestling. For those of you that don't know, Chris and Matt are the guys that helped break me into wrestling through Riot City. Essentially trainers, but also two people that I love so very much. So when all of that happened, I took that on me as like I let my family down. So seeing how far we've come since then and how well all the boys did on the show just made me really proud.
I'll say, because Todd's clearly very emotional here. I was at that last World Series Wrestling Brisbane show, and my God, the difference in Australian talent from then to today is night and day. It is absolutely unreal, the leaps and bounds that wrestling has come, especially in Brisbane, and the amount of that is on the back of the man that is to my left here on the screen. Todd has worked very hard for Queensland Wrestling. Bobby in the chat, another person who has worked insanely hard for Queensland Wrestling. And the amount that it has paid off is absolutely unbelievable. And again, I tried not to steal the thunder because Todd was part of a match that was unbelievable. A triple threat tag between the Pereira, top tier, represented with Todd Eastman, and the team of Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young. And yeah, huge. And
very good workers.
And so it felt really natural to see Todd standing at ringside while Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian were in the ring. It felt right. And those top tier boys did absolutely insane. You don't have to apologize, Todd. Anthony Ferriman is out here saying that it was the match of the night. Fermanian, sorry, Anthony. I'll say your name correctly one of these days.
I cry easier than Ric Flair nowadays.
See, now I was going to have some really nice chicken salads, but I feel fucking inconsequential after that.
Oh well, I've got one more.
Oh yeah, you do your other one, mate.
Yeah, that is to Aussie Wrestling Cards, who came out this week and stood up for Kyle, stood up for the other people that were getting. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say ripped off because it got sorted in the end, but they spoke out. It's been a long time where we and to an extent as well on the turnbuckle have been like the lone voices speaking out on fucking the stuff with DMDU, and I know that they did a article on PW Down Under on it as well, and to see them like stand up for Kyle's family, stand up for those guys. That was really good to see. It was good to see that people are finally fucking standing up for this stuff and trying to right these things.
I think that it pretty much went as we thought it would, in that we were the lone voice a while ago, just going, this is fucked, this is fucked, this is fucked. And then eventually, Welchie was pretty much on there at the same time. But then eventually everyone started. And now I don't think DMDU are going to be able to come back. I really don't.
Which is like
and we want to see more Australian wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's sad and respect because of that, but just done the right way. That's all.
I don't mind if there's a deathmatch company, but do it right.
Yeah. And to jump on what Todd is saying, seeing the support of Aussie wrestling coming from places like Australian Pro Wrestling Trading Cards. I know I've gotten that name wrong. Apologies. But seeing the support for not only the Australian wrestlers, but sticking up for people who are part of this scene is so important. And the fact that
we wouldn't be here without the people that support the scene. We wouldn't. Let's be honest.
And Keanu says, I definitely appreciate what you guys did for us. Keanu, not on us, mate. It's because people like you and like Kyle, are what keeps Australian wrestling alive.
Yeah. And there are in some respects, speaking for like us, that from what we've been doing for 10 years, like promoting Australian wrestling and all of that, I would like to hope that it's somewhat reciprocated by some of the promotions that we do go out of our way to help. And hopefully that starts happening a bit more, because that all we're here to do is promote you guys and promote Australian wrestling. It's all we've done for 10 years. Yeah. So it's just, it does get a little bit, for someone who's been in it for 10 years. You guys have been in the battle for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
I've been in the battle.
I think Lachlan was about 2.
I've been in the battle for like 10 years. So like, and I know this week I sort of got to a point where I got a little bit frustrated, and I apologize for messaging in the group chat and venting with it. But it's just, it's one of those things that when you work so hard and work so long as what we have and what Josh did before Josh passed, it's one of those things where like there's just sometimes where like, I just fucking wish that for all the stuff we do for them, that they help us as well, or think of us because of how much we try to think of them in every show that we do. Anyway, that's
Jeff, you fire off your chicken salad, and then if it's not the thing I want to mention, I'll have one more thing after that.
Mine is a 2-part chicken salad as well. My first thing is that Delta won the Intercommonwealth and Women's Championship at MCW Fight to Survive on the weekend. And the beautiful thing is they let her soak in those cheers for a really long time. It was beautiful. It was beautiful because the story has been told so well from the beginning. And we did say, look, let it play out. Jarvis was absolutely perfect in his role. I want to see what they do with him now. He's going to be, like, they're moving him up. He's definitely a great heel. And Delta has so much charisma, so much talent, so much ability right there. But the best thing was MCW just let her linger on that stage and soak in those cheers. And one of the owners of MCW walked past me and said, "Did you listen to that pop, mate?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it was fantastic." I hope that we can get our copy and have a look at it this weekend and review it next week, because I'm sure
I think it's up. I think it's up on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's up on Saturday night, so have a watch of it because it's just beautiful. And there was no one who wasn't beaming all the way through the intermission at the idea of that. Just wonderful. Just a complete chicken salad. My other chicken salad, it was the main event of Royal Quest 3. Ospreay against ZSJ. As I said earlier, they just don't have bad matches. I wonder what the cage, what the scores were on that, through the critics. But yeah, it was great, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know if I mentioned your chicken salad or not, Lachlan.
You didn't. I'm going to quickly jump on what a couple of people in the chat have said. Number one, both Bobby and Alex Fireheart in the chat. Alex Fireheart saying, as an overall TLDR chicken salad, the World Series Wrestling crowd for a Brisbane show was generally a far better atmosphere than in 2017. And Bobby said that his chicken salad was the local crowd who vocalized their support to the locals against the big names. And it was so good to see the local guys getting support behind them. On top of that, Alex Fireheart in the chat earlier, attending the World Series Wrestling show and having someone next to them having a conversation about openly queer wrestlers being on international rosters, and that just making it feel like a good place to be. That's so important. We also had D. James.
Yeah, D. James said, Lachlan, awesome to see Aisha versus Erica there too. Yeah, they're clearly putting a little bit behind this one, which is great. But we'll talk more about that one next week, D. James. So hopefully you can come along and put some comments in, because we'd love to hear from you.
I've heard from a few sources that Aisha versus Erica Reed was an absolute banger. I'm excited to see it. One of the things I wanted to mention before we get into the chat of what's coming up in Australian wrestling over the next couple of months was a tweet that we got from Andrew over on X, who thanked Wrestle Radio Australia, saying that he was finally going to a Melbourne City wrestling show after 4 or 5 years. Time to get back to supporting great companies. That That's what this is all about. We want people to feel like this is a great company I can support, and I am going to go and have a good time at the wrestling.
I'm also going to say Andrew stopped me and said hello and said how much he enjoys the show. So
that's good.
If it's the Andrew I think it is, well, someone stopped me.
Ace of the Stars, I think is his Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's that Andrew. And thanks for stopping me and saying hi. Love to see you again soon, mate.
Yeah. I will say that World Series Wrestling show, it was an amazing atmosphere to be at. Speaking for someone who's worked so long for, and to see all the guys on the show from the local scene actually put in really, really good. They weren't just there to make up the numbers. They put on some really, really good efforts. That was so good to see. And to see 700 plus people coming out to see wrestling, and hopefully seeing these guys from the local scene and going, wow, well, I wonder where they're wrestling next. We'll go and check them out. Hopefully that feeds into the local scene more, because that's the idea that for us anyway, being a part of those shows is for. But I will say, being backstage for those shows, such a nice bunch of people to work with as well. Adrian's so easy to work with. He's such a, like, you can understand now why when all the wrestlers go back to America, they all tweet about how much fun they had in World Series, how good, because you're so well looked after at backstage with that. I will say one thing for that, right? And I put it up on my Twitter this week for wrestlers. There was a spot there, and I guess I'm not telling tales out of school. The night before, Brian Cage had tweaked his knee. That's why there were so many changes to that card in Brisbane. So he couldn't wrestle the match that he was supposed to wrestle. So that's why everything got mixed up.
I want to read that out.
So go on.
James Craig just wrote, my chicken salad was finally seeing a WrestleBrania show, was pleasantly surprised and had a great time throughout. Were you surprised it was good, James? Did you expect something that was shit?
Well, he's heard you in here. So,
he knows what kind of content you make, Jeff.
Yeah. Thanks, fellas.
So
thanks.
Because I want to get the story out for this thing, right? So after intermission, I was settling back. I was about to have a couple of drinks. Our match was done. We were good. Adrian comes run up to me and goes, Brian Cage feels like he could do a little something. Can you find somebody quickly that's got their gear with them and their music? So I sent a couple of messages out. Unfortunately, one of the guys had his gear, didn't have his music, and the other guy just didn't see his message, so he couldn't get back to me. What I'm saying to you, and I said it on Twitter, and I put it on my Instagram and stuff like that.
James Cray, listen up.
If you're a wrestler and you're at one of these shows, bring your gear and always bring a USB with your stuff on it, your Tron, your whatever, because you never know. Now, sure, this spot would have just been you coming out to the ring and maybe getting powerbombed to shit by Brian Cage. You're still putting your name out there. So when that promoter comes to town the next time and you just go, hey, remember this guy? He's the one who did that favor for you last time. Oh, yeah, we'll put him in a match because he did this to the last. Always have your stuff with you. Always have I always have a USB in my bag with everybody that I manage, everyone's Trons, including my own. And I'm never going to wrestle, not unless it's built up and I'm paid a lot of money. But getting sponsored, yeah, there you go. It's just a thing. Like, I just think it's easy to. I know Bobby will have this argument with me saying your phone is as good as a USB. You can play. I'm not trying to talk to a tech about how to do that during a show. I'm just not. And this is what it was. It was like after intermission, there was like 10 minutes tops we had. So there wasn't time to screw around. And because the thing was getting
a USB and have it on the cloud.
Yeah. Well, not even, because the problem is, right, because they were doing it. Shut up, Bobby. Because they were doing it over, like they were broadcasting this thing live. That's an awful lot pull on their internet. It's a lot of data that's coming in and out.
Lachlan, change his name back to Old Man Yells at Cloud.
No, I'm trying to help people get spots on shows.
I know you are, mate. I know you are.
So if you want to keep going, bro, all right?
Want to jump up to Alex?
You'll go missing like that beard,
Alex
brother.
Fireheart. said his chicken shit was that he didn't get to meet Todd and I at the show, and maybe next time. I am sorry that I didn't catch you there, Alex. I wasn't looking at Twitter, or else I would have come and found you specifically, because we love meeting people who listen to the show. Speaking of which, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be at a show that a lot of people might be at, and I would love you to come say hi. It is PWA Colosseum. I am flying down to Sydney to see the great tournament of Australian wrestling that is Colosseum. The Fight for Iron Mercy this year has, in the quarterfinals, the opening rounds, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Jack Bonza, Emin Usman versus Jude the Dude London, Matt Grimbasso versus Cherry Stevens, and Paris De Silva versus Delta. That's the opening rounds. It is going to be a huge 2-night event that also has Jessica Troy versus Ricky South for the PWA Heavyweight Championship on the first night. There's going to be all sorts of crazy stuff, including a tag team gauntlet. There's a huge 5-man scramble that I saw recently that I can't even remember what it is. It's going to be an insane weekend of wrestling. Keanu is definitely going to say hi to me. So Keanu, cannot wait to shake your hand, mate. If you are listening and going to be at that show, please come say hi. If you are in Sydney and you're not seeing either of those shows, you are an insane person, and I don't know what's wrong with you. Get along to Colosseum. After that, October 28th, PWL Day of...
Before we go on, what are your tips for it? Who do we think is coming away with this sword? The sword.
The sword? Who's coming away with Iron Mercy? This is
sword.
Sword. I think this is long odds. I think the final is going to be Velocity versus Velocity. It's going to be a hard road, but I think it's going to be down to Jude the Dude London and Paris De Silva. And I'm picking Paris. I'm saying Paris De Silva walks away with Iron Mercy. Keanu has almost exactly the opposite opinion. Keanu said Jude beating Paris in the final. So that's a hot prediction.
I think it's going to be Delta. Delta's going to beat ZSJ in the final.
Delta beating ZSJ in the final. Have you got a prediction there, Todd?
Look, as a storyteller, the story for me would be Matt Grimbasso winning the thing.
Oh, wow.
You're talking a guy that's come back from, like, the dude had cancer. He's come back from cancer. He's fucking in, like, the best shape I've seen him in a long time. I would love to see him run that table and win that. Let's face it, that sword looks like something a Viking should have. So I just...
Okay, but then you're also giving up the... If you're talking about a storyteller, you're giving up the opportunity of having Cherry Stevens, who is like the definitive, like, come from below technical wrestler of PWA, to have to take down one of the biggest men in Aussie wrestling in the form of Grimbasso, then have to take down the on-the-rise juggernaut of Delta in the semis to come up against the god of technical wrestling ZSJ in the final. That's not the story you want to tell?
No, because I don't think that Zack Sabre Jr. is getting out of the first round.
You know what's nice? There's legitimately a case for any of these 8 people. Because ZSJ heads up TMDK, which is an Australian stable, so it makes sense that he might want to come back to Australia occasionally and defend the sword. There is not one of those people where you can't say, oh, it could be them.
Well, Bonza's got the backing of Bullet Club, right? So, like, if you want to take out a TMDK leader in the form of Zack Sabre Jr., first round, do it, sweep the table. Like, it's...
Yeah.
It could go absolutely anyway.
Emin's like a star on the rise. He's an incredible wrestler, and B, he's clearly got ring smarts. I think he's going to play the heel against Jude, which will be fantastic because he's an amazingly good heel. And he could win it, go on, and he and Zach put on a banger, and he comes through that, and then fights against Delta or Cherry in the final. Boom. Or Paris. Wanting revenge.
Here's my outside prediction for what's going to happen at Colosseum. And it's that against all odds, or maybe not against all odds, but I don't think Jessica Troy is winning the PWA heavyweight title on night 1. I don't think that Jessica Troy walks out of this event as the PWA champion. I think that we are going to have a clean title defense from Ricky South night 1. And this is a big call. I know I'm making a really big call here. I think we see the return of Fudge unmasked to take the challenge to Ricky South night 2. I think it's more a hope than a prediction, but that's what I want to see. That's where
I think, and this is just me being like Smarky Smarkerson. I think that if Jess doesn't beat Ricky here, they've overcooked it.
Oh, Smarky.
No, I'm just saying that's what I think. As much as I from a storytelling perspective, for a feel good story, I want Matt to win that title, to win that sword. I think it's time that they do this with Jess.
I don't. I think keep the belt on Ricky. He's got a hot hand. His matches are great, and I think that
they are. But does he?
We're just
does he
scratching the surface of his delusion. Like he's been a strong champion so far, and he's increasingly becoming fractured and deluded.
So him losing the belt would have him snap even more. And then you've got Jessica Troy, who's finally cracked it, who's won one of the biggest titles in the country, with this challenger who is completely deranged chasing her now for the next however long they want to tell that story. I think it's time for her. I think it's time for her to get this accolade, because she, by far, for the longest time, she's been one of the best wrestlers in PWA, hell, in Australia.
Yeah,
she's always been that right near the top and never quite busting through that glass ceiling. I'd like to see that for a feel good moment.
I think you will, but I just don't think it'll be at Colosseum.
And then anyway, I'm saying that they've overcooked it if they do that. That's
all right.
Smarky Smarkson.
Colosseum's on Saturday and Sunday. We will see just how our Smarky predictions play out, but it is not the only wrestling show that is on through to the end of the year. First off, October 28th, the first ever PWL show that I will be missing since it has arrived back on the scene is Day of Reckoning, and I am heartbroken to not be there because we've got the main event of Outback Adam defending his newly won PWL Heavyweight Championship against, you want to talk about a deranged challenger? It's Punch Drunk Istria. After that, through to November 11th, Renegades of Wrestling returns with Breakthrough. This one's going to have Robbie Eagles versus Jarvis, Solomon Blackwell versus Lockie Hendricks, Ambush versus BDE, and more. Tickets on sale now for that one. So good to see Solomon Blackwell getting in front of these big crowds here. Well deserved for the kid. November 18th, Wide Bay Hall Brawl at the Maryborough Town Hall. Going to be, I think it's fair to say this is the biggest show in Wide Bay Pro history. I think it's hard to argue that. This is a show that is worth getting to if you are anywhere near it. Anyone in Brisbane, get along to Wide Bay Hall Brawl on November 18th. The main event is going to have Tim Hayden defending his Wide Bay Pro Heavyweight Championship in a triple threat against fan favorite Yeet Stevens and the great man from Melbourne himself, the Business Slex. That is going to be absolutely unreal. PWL is going to be at the Wynnum Fringe on December 1st with Bayside Brawl. That is going to be an awesome show, and one that I'm going to encourage people, bring your friends along to it if you're in Queensland. What a great way to get them into wrestling. Head along to the Wynnum Fringe and see Bayside Brawl. I am going to be doing that for at least one person. After that, December 10th is going to be MCW Endgame. There's still some tickets left for this, but you do not want to miss out on seeing Brooksy versus Dusky in the Sacrament. That is the cap off to this. The Ascent of Dusk is something that you want to be watching, and that's going to be happening on December 10th at MCW Endgame.
Of course, it was remiss of me not to write in there when I wrote that down just a few minutes ago. We're going to see Slacks versus Buddy, so that alone is going to be incredible.
Yeah, Obviously. December 16th, Slam Wrestling has Rage in the Cage. This is in Canberra. Once again, I will be making the trek to the National Convention Centre in Canberra. The main event of Broderick versus Watts in a steel cage should be huge, but maybe just as huge is going to be the Terry Campese Battle Royale with names like Ricky South heading into that big event. So that's on December 16th. Are you going to be down there for that one, Jeff?
I will be driving up. Venom Pro Wrestling is also this Saturday night. Thank you, Anthony. I will be driving up to Canberra to watch Slam Wrestling. And the night before,
on the 16th,
we will be doing at the Polish Club from 7:30. WrestleBrania. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite. You can go to the WrestleBrania page on Facebook, and the event is there. Twitter, Instagram. All of them have the event details. Grab your tickets now. I'm announcing things slowly. I'm, announcing that Dane Simpson is one of my. Oh, fuck! Did I say that aloud? We've got Dane Simpson from the television. Great comedian, fantastic, very, very funny man. He is going to be one of my guests at WrestleBrania on December 15th. It doesn't get better than that. Well, it will, because we're going to announce more soon. So if you're coming to WrestleBrania, we'd love to see you there. And I'll be around for Slam. So come and say hi to me at Slam. Oh, and Keanu Reviews is coming along, and he's saying it's his first WrestleBrania 2. You might want to grab tickets soon, Keanu, because we are upping all the sort of posts and announcements and stuff like that. So you might want to grab tickets soon if you haven't already.
While we're bombarding people with dates, this one isn't a wrestling show, but it is a show worth checking out. November 11th, we are going to be right here at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia for a 10-hour marathon live stream to celebrate the 10th birthday of Wrestle Radio Australia. The big double digits, man. You only go double digits once, and we are going to celebrate big time. There's going to be goof. There's going to be nonsense. I have a feeling that Todd may cry again, so make sure you get along November 11th. He can't say anything because he knows it's true.
Yeah, because I cry so fucking easily nowadays.
November 11th, get along. Make sure you hit the follow button, and if you want, the subscribe button at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia, so you get the notification there to remind you of that 10-hour live stream. And hey, while you're hitting follow button, Keanu Review says 10 hours of crying. That's exactly right. While you're hitting that follow button, Keanu, you can do it for Wrestle Radio Australia at Wrestle Radio AU on X and on Instagram. You can go to Facebook, type in Wrestle Radio Australia, and you'll be able to find our page right there, where we also do show off these streams live, as Bobby Roberts in the chat can tell you all about. While you're stopping places to hear the podcast, Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review.
It's also worth noting that we're doing the 10-hour marathon also to try and help raise money for mental health, and that we were remiss in mentioning that.
Todd, you ruined my flow. I've got it in the tank. Let me just rewind it. I'm good at this. This is the one bit that I can do.
I'll just be crying over here.
Yeah, do that. Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, give us a rating, because it really helps us get into more people's ears, and that's a huge factor in getting us growing. And hey, if you want to show us off to more people, head on over to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia, get some merch, represent us. If you do it during the live stream, I don't know if Todd is going to be organizing maybe some fresh stuff to go up there, and all of the proceeds from our sales on Redbubble go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, which are two awesome mental health charities that support specifically men in Australia, but more broadly support mental health and the ways that we can, be better as people at getting those conversations going. We're going to be supporting them through that 10-hour live stream. We're going to try and get some stuff going on to get some ways to get money into the arms of those charities that do such good work around Australia. Do we have anything else that we need to mention, Jeff or Todd?
No. I will say at the moment, Gotcha for Life are doing something called a mental fitness gym, which it looks really interesting. I actually want to start looking into it and seeing what it is about, because they really do some great work over there. The guy that founded it and who runs it, Gus Wallen, really, really passionate about mental health and like trying to stop people from hurting themselves and that sort of thing. So like, go and check them out, Gotcha for Life as well, because they do some really, really good work. And I think Gus if you go on YouTube, he did a TED talk not too long ago about it, which was really, really, really good. And I do encourage you to go and listen to that, because I don't think it's very long either. I think it's maybe 10, 15 minutes, but just so engaging and so worthwhile listening to, because you get a lot out of it. Yeah. And also just thank you to everybody that came out to World Series Wrestling. Like I said, 700 people got to see like the best in Queensland wrestling come out with guys around the world. That to me has been
Bobby was there too, Todd.
Bobby was there too, yeah, of course. But that to me is what up here we've been working towards for the longest time. And it was so good to see. I've said it before. It's so good to see these guys on the same stage as people that we've seen on TV and pay-per-views, and not looking out of place at all. So I'm just so very proud of the whole group when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And look, keep up with us individually as well. You can keep up with Todd at Beast Eastman over on X. You can keep up with Jeff at Jeff_Setti. You can keep up with me at Lachlan Albert. Jeff also has at Wrestle_Brainia, where you can follow and see what's going on with that. If you want to catch more of Jeff and I, you can do it at Board of Games Podcast here on twitch.tv, where we talk about board games. And hey, if you love hearing me talk about board games, I recently recorded an episode of the From the Vault podcast that will be going up live soon. I'll tell you more information in a couple of weeks as that goes up. But we are all around the place making content, hopefully, that you guys really enjoy. So with that said, on behalf of Todd Eastman and Jeff Setti, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit, and you can't make chicken salad